Okay, we are on activity 3.3 and on page 49. So we're going to open the program for this 3.3.2 class list project, and we're going to open it and look at it. In this program we have an array called AR names, and it's also like all the other arrays we've worked with so far, where the names have been pre-filled, put into the array. And that's quite a lot of names, 45 of them that was typed in, a lot of typing happening there. Okay, so in this activity, we're going to write code for the find by letter button to prompt the user to input a letter of the alphabet using an input box, and then count how many names in the given array with the letter begin with the letter provided. Display the count value. So the user's going, this is actually EDT input. There's no input box statement here. The user's going to type in a letter, a character, and hopefully only one character. Although they say use an input box, but if we look at the example here, they're using the edit box right there. Okay, and we're going to display the names and also a counter. We're going to display a counter for the names. This is EDT input, so let's go and double click the button. Now remember that we only want a character. So C letter colon char, we're going to find that, okay? But we have to go and first ask if EDT input dot text, if the length of that is more than 1, the length EDT input, if that length, because we don't want them to type in more than 1 character, do we? No. So if the length is greater than 1, then, or let's just say not equal to 1, you know. What if they didn't put anything in? Then we're going to begin and end show message. Say, please enter 1 character. Just like that, and exit. That will cover all the bases. Of course, we should use capital letters and so on. And that exit will mean that if it's all right, then we don't have to worry. We know that there's 1 letter. Then we say C letter colon equals EDT input dot text character number 1. Now there's different ways of handling the way we're going to go about it next. The next bit of code that we're going to use. There's different ways of handling this, where we want to find and display all the names that begin with that letter, and we also want to count how many letters there are. So let's go get a counter. Okay, our count let colon integer. Let's go and set that to 0 while we're about it, because we know we have to. But are we going to do, oh yeah, we're going to do this for all. We're not going to set to 0 1 box at a time. We want to count how many boxes in that array have the word starting with the character that the user entered. We then have to go through that array 1 box at a time, using our for loop counter, because we want to go through every single box. For k equals 1, 2, how many boxes are there that are filled? The question we ask ourselves, and we go and look. You'll see it's like a constant array. It's a pre-filled array. 45 names have been entered. We can assume that it's 45. I'm not counting those manually. Do begin and end. So this is our basic structure. For loop, going through every single box. And then we're going to ask the question, if the first character of the array box is equal to that C letter. Now if we're going to compare characters with characters, we must keep it all characters, eh? We're going to ask the question, if ARR, let's have a look at our array name, AR names, square brackets K, character number 1, guys, if that is equal to C letter, then we can increment our counter, display the name, and increment our counter. And display the name in the rich edit. And take note of that. Have you ever seen this animal before? AR names, square brackets K, square brackets N? No, because this is the first time. AR name, square brackets K is a box of an array. And then the square brackets shows the character number. This is a string. This whole thing here is a string. And then we have the character number of that string. In this case, we want character number 1. We are going to display that into the rich edit, already out, dot lines, dot add, the whole name. But there's one other problem. We didn't upcase, did we? Did we upcase? No. Remember that the person could have typed a small letter A so we need to upcase both sides so that we can compare apples with apples and not apples with pears. So upcase both sides here, then we know we're safe. If the user typed in a small letter A, then we know we can convert both of it to upcase. Upcase the character, the first character of AR names, and upcase C letter, which is one character. So if you use a char data type, remember that you have to use the square brackets in a string to make it equal to that char data type. I'm trying to indent here to make it look prettier. And there's nothing else that's going to happen here. Okay. Where did we use square brackets? Well, we use square brackets to get the first character from EDT input.text, even though we know that the user did enter one character, even though. And how do we know that? Because we checked. We checked to see if the length was not equal to 1. And then we asked them to enter one character, and if they didn't, the procedure would exit. But if the procedure didn't exit, we know it would be one character. But if we're going to assign that one single letter to a char data type, we must remember that EDT input.text is a string on its own. It is a string. And we have to refer to character number 1 to make it equal, to see if it matches C letter, or make it equal to a char data type. So whenever you want a string to be equal to a char data type, you better put a character number in square brackets after that string. That's the bottom line. So this for loop is going for k equals 1 to 45. It's going through all 45 boxes of the array. And then we ask if that upcase of that first character in one of the boxes of the array, if that is equal to the C letter upcased, then we'll increment our count letters and display AR names box number K. Always remember, AR names box number K is a whole string on its own. It's one little string. Remember, look at all these names here. AR names box number 1 is Fahim. AR names box number 2 is Suhina, and so on. So Zipo is AR names box number 4. And that box number is the for loop, the K from the for loop going from 1 to whatever number it is. So the whole thing together is your string. And then the square bracket after it is the character number. And because we can't make a string equal to a char data type, we have to put character numbers after the string in square brackets. Now we're going to move on to what we have to do. We must display the count value, so we're going to go and display that now in redout.lines.add into string our count names begin with plus C letter. Now we can go and put C letter as a character inside a rich edit.lines.add statement. We can do that. We just can't say C letter equals a string, but we can put C letter, which is a subset of a string, into rich edit.lines.add. Now that is, oh, there's one thing missing. This program will only run smoothly if we clear the rich edit before we display. In this button click, redout.clear, we need to do that each time before we go and display all the names, otherwise it's going to be a bit messy. So you can run, make that program work, fix it until it works.